This is an introduction to how to use a pocket scale. We also will refer to scales as balances, and this one is a pocket-sized scale that is similar to the ones that we have in our classroom. So you'll notice that it has a protective cover, and it also then has 4 buttons that are on it. Of the 4 buttons, we are only ever going to use the power button. Okay? So the only thing we're going to be doing is turning it on and off. So for example, here's power on. So you'll notice it also says that it has a capacity of 300 grams times 0.01 grams. That times 0.01 grams tells you how many decimal places it goes to. All right, so what I'm going to do is take you through an activity and walk you through some of the questions one step at a time. So first off, I have a scale in hand, and first thing I'm going to do is turn on the scale without having the tray on it. Notice that it does take about 5 to 10 seconds or so for it to warm up and fully turn on. So, what does the scale read right now? Don't forget to include your units. Now I'm going to put the tray on top of the scale. And you'll notice that the tray, what does the scale read at this point? Once again, don't forget the units. So you'll notice also that if I were to let this sit for long enough, it's actually going to power off. And the scale itself is going to just turn off. And when it does turn off, and then we go to turn it back on, take a look to see what is it reading right now. Okay? What does it read now that I've turned it back on? And then, now what does it read since I've pulled the tray off of it? All right. So what happens to the reading when you put something on the scale and you turn it on? What happens to this reading when you turn on the scale? All right, so another portion of this is that I wanted to show you, and by the way, you'll notice each time that I'm using this scale, even though we could read through the instructions that are on here, I'm using this as a protective cover for the scale itself. And I want you to do that in our classroom with our balances as well. That protects the scale itself, and then ultimately if I just need to clean something, I'm just cleaning this little plastic tray rather than trying to clean the actual scale itself. All right, so I'm going to be keeping the tray on top of the scale while we're going through these next portions. And we are going to now weigh each of these items here 10 times. And I'm going to even keep this over here as a count to make sure I know which number we are at. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn on the scale. All right. So here's the mass of the paperclip. And instead of using a golf ball, I'm using a padlock. And then here's a pin. And here is a nickel. Now I'm going to take off the nickel and turn off the scale. We have completed the first run. We're now doing run number 2. All right, so I'm going to start again with the paperclip. With the padlock. The pin, and the nickel. All right, so we've gone through that twice now. We're on to number 3. I'm going to turn off the scale, turn the scale back on, and paperclip. Padlock. Pin. think I must have transferred that too quickly. And the nickel. And once again, turning it off. We are now at number 4. Turning it back on. Paperclip. Padlock. The pin. And the nickel. That was number 4. We are on the 5th run of this. Paperclip. Padlock. Pin. And nickel. All right. Number 6. Paperclip. Padlock. Pin. And nickel. Okay, number 6. Paperclip. Padlock. Pin. And nickel. Number 7 is done. Working on number 8. Paperclip. Padlock. Pin. And nickel. All right. Number 9. Paperclip. Padlock. Pin. And the nickel. All right, last one. Paperclip. Padlock. Pin. And nickel. So now that we have completed that, I do want to test something else as well. I want to find out how many drops of water, or how much does a drop of water weigh? And does this scale have the ability to actually measure the drop of water? All right, so how are we going to do that? Well, I want to actually just start off with the empty cup. So I'm going to turn off the scale, and I'm going to leave the empty cup on top of it. What's going to happen when I turn the scale on? All right, so when I turn on the scale with the cup on top of it, you'll notice that it starts off at 0. And you'll notice over here, I have a container of water. And I am going to grab a dropper. All right, so I am going to add enough drops to get this to 1 gram. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Let me pause there. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 25 drops. All right, so it took 25 drops and it got me to 1.03 grams. So with all of that, you should be able to do some calculations at this point to figure out the mass of an individual drop. All right, thank you so much, and hopefully this works out for you.